Story 1, Iona Scriptorium. Scotland, Hebrides, 8th to 9th century. The Book of Kells begins. You are on an island. A small island off the coast of Scotland. Iona. The name means blessed island, or perhaps Dove Island. The stories disagree, but the holiness, everyone agrees on that. The sea surrounds you. Gray sea, cold sea, the Atlantic. Waves constant, eternal, never stopping. The sound of waves is always here, day and night, winter and summer. The island breathes with the rhythm of tides. It is early morning. Dawn is breaking slowly as it does this far north. The sky lightens from black to gray to pale gold. The monastery bells ring for lauds, the morning prayer. The monks rise from their sleeping cells, walk to the chapel, pray. You walk with them. Silent. Everyone is silent. The rule of Saint Columba, who founded this monastery, requires silence except during prayers, during meals when scripture is read aloud, during necessary conversations about the work. The work. That is why you are here. The scriptorium, where manuscripts are made. After prayers, after a simple breakfast of bread and ale, after more prayers, the monks who are scribes go to their work. You follow them to a stone building attached to the monastery. The scriptorium. It is a long room with windows on the south side to catch the light. Light is everything in this work. Without light you cannot see to write, to paint, to create the intricate patterns that will fill the pages. Each scribe has a desk. A slanted desk at just the right angle for writing. A stool. Tools carefully arranged, quills from goose feathers, sharpened to perfect points. Ink in small pots, black ink made from oak galls and iron. Colors for illumination, red from lead, blue from expensive lapis lazuli ground to powder, green from copper, yellow from arsenic. Gold leaf, thin as breath, for the most important letters, the most sacred words. And vellum. Calfskin prepared for writing, scraped thin, rubbed smooth with pumice, cut to size. Each sheet represents an animal's life, so nothing is wasted. Every mistake must be scraped away and the surface reused. Vellum is too precious to discard. The work begins in silence. Each monk takes his place, opens his manuscript to where he left off yesterday, picks up his quill, dips it in ink, begins to write. You watch one monk, Brother Column, named for the founder. He is copying the Gospel of Matthew. He has been copying it for months. Each letter formed perfectly, each line straight, each word spaced just right. Latin words from the Vulgate Bible, Jerome's translation, the standard text. His hand moves slowly, deliberately. Each letter takes time. Each curve must be perfect. There is no hurrying this work. Hurrying causes errors, and errors dishonor God, dishonor the text, dishonor the years of training that made him worthy to copy sacred words. The silence in the scriptorium is not empty. It is full. Full of concentration, of devotion, of the small sounds of work, quill scratching on vellum, the soft tap when a quill is dipped in ink, the rustle when a page is turned, the breath of monks so focused they forget to breathe normally and then inhale deeply, suddenly. The light through the windows changes as morning progresses. It moves across the room, illuminating first this desk, then that one. The monks shift slightly to stay in the light, following it as flowers follow the sun. Brother Column finishes a page. Not the copying, just the words. The illumination comes later, after all the text is done. First the words, then the beauty. But even the words are beautiful. His script is perfect insular half-uncial, the distinctive Irish style with its rounded letters, its unique letterforms, its space and rhythm that make the page breathe. At midday the bell rings for sext, the noon prayer. The monks stop immediately, no matter where they are in a word, in a letter. They put down their quills, wipe them clean, cap their ink. Prayer comes before work. Always. Without exception. They walk to the chapel, pray, eat a simple meal, pray again. Then back to the scriptorium for the afternoon shift. The afternoon light is different. Warmer somehow, more golden. Perfect for the next phase of work. Brother Finian, older than Column, more experienced, begins illuminating a page Column finished last week. First he draws guidelines in lead point, so faint they can barely be seen. These will mark where the decoration goes, the initial letter that begins the chapter, the border around the page, the small drawings in the margins. Then he begins with the initial letter. A huge letter, I, for, in principio, in the beginning. The opening of John's Gospel. This letter will fill half the page. It will contain within its spirals, knotwork, animal heads, crosses, all the symbols of Celtic Christian art. He starts with the outline in black ink, incredibly fine lines. The pattern is in his head, years of training, years of studying the old manuscripts, years of copying and learning the grammar of Celtic art. His hand knows what to do. The knotwork interlaces, over and under, never breaking, continuous, representing eternity, God's eternal nature, truth that has no beginning or end. The spirals represent spiritual growth, the soul's journey, the turning of seasons and years. The animal heads, a snake, a bird, a lion, represent earth, air, fire, the elements of creation. Hours pass. The work is slow, meditative. There is no rushing. A single page might take days to illuminate. The Book of Kells, when it is finished, if it is ever finished, will have taken decades, multiple scribes, uncountable hours. But no one thinks of finishing. They think only of this page, this letter, this line, this moment. The work is prayer. The concentration is worship. The beauty they create is offering. As afternoon fades, Brother Finian begins adding color. First the red, vermilion, bright and warm. He mixes it with gum arabic to make it flow, applies it with the finest brush, made from just 3 hairs from a squirrel's tail. The color fills the spaces in the design, pure and even. Then blue, precious blue, made from lapis lazuli brought all the way from Afghanistan. It costs more than gold. Each grain of pigment is valuable. He uses it sparingly, in the most important places, where the color will catch the eye, will draw the viewer into contemplation. The bell rings for vespers, evening prayer. Again the work stops. The brush is cleaned, the pigments covered, the page left to dry overnight. They pray as the sun sets over the Atlantic, as the island darkens, as stars emerge. After a simple evening meal and compline, the final prayer, the monks retire to their cells. Sleep comes quickly to men who have worked all day with such concentration, such devotion. The next day begins the same. And the next. And the next. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years. The work continues. Gospels are copied, illuminated, bound. Some stay at Iona, some are sent to other monasteries, some are gifts to kings and bishops. And always the sea sounds around the island, the rhythm of waves like the rhythm of prayers, of work, of the patient creation of beauty that will last 1,000 years, 2,000 years, forever. This is Iona. This is the scriptorium where the Book of Kells began, where Celtic monks poured their faith into pages of vellum, creating something so beautiful that even now, centuries later, people weep when they see it. Let this place stay with you as you drift into sleep. The island, the sea, the quiet room, the patient monks, the slow careful work, the beauty created stroke by stroke, letter by letter, page by page. Rest now in the silence of the scriptorium, in the concentration of the scribes, in the peace of work done for the glory of God, for the love of beauty, for no reason except that it should be done. Sleep. The work continues. The pages turn. The beauty grows. All is quiet. All is patience. All is exactly as it should be. Story 2, Lindisfarne Scriptorium. Northumbria, England, 7th to 8th century. The Lindisfarne Gospels. You are on another island now. Lindisfarne, off the coast of Northumbria in northern England. Also called Holy Island because of the monastery here, because of the saints who lived here, because of the holiness that soaked into the very stones. The island is tidal. Twice a day the sea retreats, and you can walk across the sand and mud to the mainland. Twice a day the sea returns, cutting the island off, making it separate, remote, protected by water. It is winter. Cold winter. Wind blows constantly from the North Sea, bringing salt spray, bringing cold that cuts through wool and leather, bringing the smell of ice from further north where the world ends, or so people say. The monastery is older than Iona, founded by Saint Aidan in 635. Simpler than Iona, poorer, more austere. The Northumbrian Church believes in poverty, in hardship, in proving faith through endurance. You enter the scriptorium. It is colder here than at Iona. No fires allowed. Fire is dangerous around vellum, around manuscripts. The scribes wear fingerless gloves, blow on their hands to keep them warm enough to work. In deep winter they sometimes cannot work at all, the ink freezes, their fingers are too stiff to hold a quill. But today it is just cold, not freezing. Work is possible. And there is much work to do. One man works here almost alone. Brother Eadfrith, later he will be bishop, but now he is just a monk, a scribe, creating what will be known as the Lindisfarne Gospels. One man, one vision, one sustained act of devotion that will take years. Unlike Iona where many monks work together, here it is mostly Eadfrith alone. He writes the text, he illuminates it, he designs the pages, he makes all the decisions. The work is his, the glory will be God's. He works on a page of the Gospel of John. His script is different from Irish script. This is Anglo-Saxon, influenced by both Irish and continental styles. The letters are more angular, more compact, more efficient. He can fit more words on a page than Irish scribes can. But the illumination, the illumination is extraordinary. Eadfrith has studied Irish manuscripts, has learned their knotwork, their spirals, their patterns. But he has added his own elements, birds, abstract patterns, colors used in new ways, designs no one has thought of before. The page he works on today will have a carpet page, a full page of pure decoration with no text, just pattern. Called a carpet page because the intricate design resembles woven carpets from the East, though Eadfrith has never seen such carpets, only heard descriptions. He draws the framework first in lead point, creating a geometric grid that will organize the chaos of interlacing patterns. Circles, squares, crosses, all carefully measured, all perfectly proportioned. Geometry is sacred, proportion is divine. God is a geometer, the world is ordered by mathematical perfection. Within this framework he creates his patterns, interlacing knots that weave over and under endlessly. Birds whose bodies transform into knotwork, whose heads turn into spirals, whose wings become geometric patterns. The sacred and the natural, the ordered and the organic, all unified in one design. His hand is steady despite the cold. Years of training, years of practice, years of discipline. He has learned to ignore discomfort, to focus only on the work, on the line he is drawing, on the perfect execution of the design in his mind. The hours pass. The weak winter sun moves across the sky, the light in the scriptorium shifts. Eadfrith shifts with it, moving his work to follow the light, always working in the brightest spot. He adds color. Red from red lead, less expensive than the vermilion used at Iona. Yellow from orpiment, bright and poisonous. Green from verdigris, copper corroded with vinegar. Blue, precious blue, but not lapis lazuli. He cannot afford that. Instead he uses indigo, less pure, less brilliant, but still blue, still beautiful. And purple. This is unusual. Purple from folium, a plant dye. Purple is the color of royalty, of emperors, of Christ the King. Eadfrith uses it sparingly, in the most important places, where he wants to signify kingship, authority, divine majesty. The pattern emerges slowly. What looked like chaos begins to resolve into order, into symmetry, into beauty. The interlacing makes sense, the birds' bodies flow naturally into knotwork, the colors balance each other, warm and cool, light and dark, active and still. He works until the light fails. Winter days are short this far north. By mid-afternoon the sun is setting, the light is too dim to work by. He stops, cleans his tools, covers his work, goes to vespers. The night is long and cold. The monks sleep in their cells, wrapped in wool blankets, curled against the cold. Outside the wind howls, the sea crashes against rocks, the island endures. Morning comes slowly. The monks rise in darkness for matins, pray through the night's final hours, wait for dawn. When it finally comes, pale and weak, Eadfrith returns to the scriptorium, to his work, to the page he left yesterday. Day after day, week after week, month after month, he works. The Gospel of Matthew complete. The Gospel of Mark begun, progressing. Luke to come. John after that. Years of work stretching ahead, but he doesn't think of the years, only of today, of this page, of this line. Sometimes other monks come to watch him work. They marvel at his skill, at his patience, at the beauty emerging from his quill and brush. But they don't disturb him. They know better than to break his concentration. They watch in silence, learn what they can, then leave him to his work. Sometimes pilgrims come to Lindisfarne, crossing the tidal causeway at low tide, coming to pray at the shrine of Saint Cuthbert, who lived here, who is buried here, who performed miracles here. They visit the scriptorium sometimes, see Eadfrith at work, receive his blessing, leave gifts for the monastery. The gifts help. Vellum is expensive. Pigments are expensive. Gold leaf, when Eadfrith can afford it, is very expensive. The monastery is poor, the monks eat simple food, wear patched robes, sleep in cold cells. But the scriptorium must have materials. Beauty for God's glory requires resources, and the pilgrims' gifts provide them. Years pass. Eadfrith grows older. His hand remains steady, his eyes remain sharp. The work continues. Page after page, illumination after illumination, the Gospels take form. And then one day, after years, after uncountable hours, after a lifetime of devotion, it is done. 4 Gospels, hundreds of pages, thousands of words, countless illuminations. The Lindisfarne Gospels complete. Eadfrith looks at his work. Not with pride, that would be sin. But with satisfaction. With gratitude to God for the skill, for the time, for the ability to complete what he began. The work is good. It is beautiful. It honors God. It will last. And it does last. Through Viking raids, through the monastery's abandonment, through centuries of danger and neglect, the Lindisfarne Gospels survive. They survive because they are beautiful, because they are valuable, because people who see them understand that something this beautiful must be preserved. Now they rest in a library in London, protected, treasured, studied, admired. And people still look at them and marvel. Still wonder how one man, working alone in a cold room with simple tools, created something so extraordinary. Still feel, across the centuries, the devotion that went into every line, every pattern, every page. This is Lindisfarne. This is the scriptorium where one monk, working in cold and isolation, created beauty that has lasted more than 1,000 years and will last 1,000 more. Let this place stay with you as you drift deeper into sleep. The cold room, the patient monk, the steady hand, the slow accumulation of beauty, the work done for God alone, witnessed by God alone, offered in perfect devotion. Rest now as Eadfrith rested after his day's work, tired, cold, but satisfied. The work is good. The work continues. The beauty grows. All is quiet. all is devotion. All is exactly as it should be. Sleep. Story 3, Tours Scriptorium. France, 8th to 9th century, Carolingian minuscule. You are in France now. Tours. A city on the Loire River. The Abbey of Saint Martin. One of the most important monasteries in the Carolingian Empire under Charlemagne. Charlemagne wants to unite his empire not just with armies but with learning, with books, with a standardized script that everyone can read. He has called the best scholars to his court, including Alcuin of York, a brilliant teacher, a reformer, a man with a vision for how books should be made. Alcuin becomes abbot of Tours and brings his vision here. The scriptorium at Tours will become the model for all others. The script they develop here, Carolingian minuscule, will become the standard for Europe, will be so clear and readable that even today our lowercase letters are based on it. You enter the scriptorium. It is larger than Iona or Lindisfarne. More organized. More efficient. This is not just about creating beauty, though beauty matters. This is about creating many books quickly, accurately, in a script that anyone can read. The monks work in teams. Some prepare vellum. Some mix inks and pigments. Some rule the lines on pages. Some copy text. Some proofread. Some bind finished volumes. Each person has a specific role, each step is organized, the work flows like a well-run workshop. Brother Ansgar is your guide today. He is a scribe, trained in the new minuscule script. He shows you his work, a copy of Augustine's Confessions. The letters are small, clear, evenly spaced. Each letter is distinct, easy to differentiate from others. No more confusion between similar letters. No more ambiguous letter forms. The ascenders and descenders, the parts of letters that rise above or fall below the line, are clearly marked, making words easier to distinguish. Spacing between words is consistent, making reading faster, easier. This script is revolutionary in its clarity. Ansgar works steadily. His hand moves smoothly across the vellum. He completes 2 pages today, tomorrow 2 more. At this rate the entire Confessions will take him 2 months, faster than any scribe at Iona or Lindisfarne could manage. But there is still beauty here. The initial letters at the start of chapters are illuminated, though not as elaborately as Irish manuscripts. The Carolingian style is cleaner, more restrained. Beauty in proportion and clarity rather than in endless ornament. The scriptorium produces many manuscripts, Bibles, liturgical books, works of the Church Fathers, classical texts rescued from decay. Charlemagne's vision is being realized. Learning is being preserved, standardized, spread throughout the empire. You watch the work through the day. The quiet concentration, the teamwork, the steady production. This is a different kind of monastery than Iona, a different vision. Not less devout, just more practical, more focused on results. As evening comes and the workday ends, you understand something important. The monks here are doing the same work as those at Iona, copying texts, preserving knowledge, creating beauty. But they're doing it differently, adapting to new needs, new visions, new times. The books produced at Tours will spread across Europe. The minuscule script will become standard. Centuries later, when printing begins, this script will be the model for lowercase letters. Tours' influence will last 1,000 years, will shape how we write even today. Let this scriptorium stay with you as you drift into sleep. The clear letters, the organized work, the vision of learning spreading, of books multiplying, of knowledge preserved not just in one beautiful manuscript but in hundreds, in thousands. Rest now in the efficient peace of Tours, where devotion and practicality met, where beauty and clarity combined, where the future of writing was created. Sleep. Story 4, Monte Cassino Scriptorium. Italy, 11th century, classical preservation. You are in Italy. In the mountains between Rome and Naples. Monte Cassino. The mother house of the Benedictine order, founded by Saint Benedict himself in 529. The monastery sits on a mountain, visible for miles, a symbol of faith and learning rising above the valleys. For centuries monks have lived here, prayed here, worked here, following Benedict's rule, ora et labora, pray and work. The scriptorium at Monte Cassino is famous for something unusual. While other scriptoriums focus on Christian texts, here they also preserve classical learning, ancient Roman texts, pagan authors, philosophy, science, literature from before Christianity. Abbot Desiderius believes this knowledge should not be lost. These are the works that educated the early church fathers, that contain wisdom about the natural world, about human nature, about beauty and truth. Even though they're pagan, they contain truth, and truth comes from God. You enter the scriptorium. It is orderly, well-lit, prosperous. Monte Cassino is not poor like Lindisfarne. The monastery has lands, wealth, powerful patrons. The scriptorium has the best materials, fine vellum, expensive pigments, skilled scribes. Brother Paulus works on a copy of Tacitus' Histories. One of only 3 surviving manuscripts of this text exists at Monte Cassino. If they don't copy it, if it's lost in fire or war or simple decay, this history will be gone forever. So Paulus copies it carefully, word by word, preserving knowledge from 1,000 years before his birth. Another monk, Brother Marcus, copies Virgil's Aeneid. The great epic of Rome, pagan but beautiful, containing truth about courage, duty, fate. The Church Fathers quoted Virgil, found prophecies of Christ in his words. He deserves preservation. A third monk works on Galen's medical texts. Ancient Greek medicine translated into Latin. Knowledge of the body, of healing, of disease. Practical knowledge that can save lives, that shouldn't be lost just because Galen was pagan. The work here is sacred, but differently sacred than copying Gospels. This is about preserving human achievement, human wisdom, human knowledge in all its forms. The monks believe God gave humans intelligence, curiosity, the ability to learn. Using those gifts honors God, and preserving the results of those gifts does too. Through the day you watch them work. The same careful copying, the same attention to detail, but applied to texts about Roman history, about medicine, about philosophy, about the natural world. Sometimes they discuss what they're copying. Brother Paulus comments on Tacitus' description of ancient Germans. Brother Marcus appreciates Virgil's poetic skill. Brother Leo, copying Pliny's natural history, is fascinated by descriptions of exotic animals, of distant lands, of natural phenomena. Their faith is not threatened by these texts. Their Christianity is not weakened. Instead, they see all truth as connected, all knowledge as coming ultimately from the same source. God created the world, gave humans minds to understand it. These ancient writers used their minds well, discovered truths, and those truths remain true even though the writers didn't know Christ. The scriptorium produces both kinds of manuscripts, sacred and secular, Christian and classical. Both are needed, both have value, both deserve preservation. The work here will have enormous consequences. When the Renaissance comes, centuries later, scholars will rediscover classical learning through manuscripts preserved at Monte Cassino and monasteries like it. Without this work, much of ancient wisdom would have been lost forever. But the monks don't think about the future. They think only of today, of this text, of this page, of their duty to preserve what they've been given, to pass it on to those who come after. Let Monte Cassino stay with you as you drift deeper. The mountain monastery, the preserved wisdom, the idea that all truth is worth saving, that knowledge from any source has value if it's true. Rest now knowing that even in sleep, even in rest, the work of preservation continues. Knowledge passes from generation to generation. Nothing true is ever lost completely. Someone, somewhere, always remembers, always preserves, always passes on. Sleep. Story 5, Winchester Scriptorium. England, 10th century, the benedictional of Saint Athelwold. You are in Winchester, England. The ancient capital of Wessex, one of the most important cities in Anglo-Saxon England. The monastery here is wealthy, powerful, connected to the royal court. King Edgar supports the monastery, gives it lands, treasures, protection. In return, the monastery prays for the king, provides educated clergy, creates beautiful manuscripts for royal use. Bishop Athelwold leads the monastery. He is a reformer, a scholar, a patron of arts. He wants Winchester to be the center of English learning and art. He wants to surpass even continental scriptoriums in the beauty and quality of their work. The scriptorium at Winchester is creating something extraordinary, a benedictional, a book of blessings for the bishop to use at Mass on different feast days throughout the year. But this will not be an ordinary benedictional. This will be a masterpiece. You enter the scriptorium. The finest scribes in England work here. The finest illuminators. The finest craftsmen. All working together to create something worthy of a bishop, worthy of a king, worthy of God. Brother Godeman, the scribe whose name will appear in the manuscript, oversees the work. He doesn't do everything himself, many hands contribute, but he coordinates, he ensures quality, he makes the final decisions. The script is Anglo-Saxon minuscule, similar to Carolingian but with English characteristics. Clear, elegant, perfectly executed. Each word precisely spaced, each line perfectly straight, each page a model of careful writing. But the illuminations are what make this manuscript special. Each blessing gets a full-page illustration. Christ blessing the faithful. The Virgin Mary holding the Christ child. Saints in glory. Angels descending. Biblical scenes. All surrounded by elaborate frames of acanthus leaves in gold, in colors so bright they seem to glow. The figures are different from Irish or Carolingian style. More naturalistic, more interested in showing real human forms, real emotion, real depth. The artists have learned from Byzantine models, from continental examples, have developed their own English style. You watch an illuminator at work on a page showing Christ enthroned. He has already drawn the figure, already painted the robes in rich purple and blue. Now he applies gold leaf to Christ's halo, his throne, the decorative frame. Gold leaf is incredibly delicate. Thinner than paper, thinner than vellum, almost weightless. The slightest breath will blow it away. The illuminator uses a special burnisher to pick up the leaf, places it carefully on adhesive he's painted where the gold should go, then burnishes it with a smooth stone until it shines like metal. The gold transforms the page. What was beautiful becomes spectacular. The light catches the gold, reflects it, makes the page seem to glow with inner light. This is what medieval people wanted, books that looked like they came from heaven, that showed the glory of God in physical form. Hours of work go into each page. First the underdrawing in lead point. Then the painting of base colors. Then the details, facial features, folds in fabric, ornamental patterns. Then the gold leaf. Then final details in black ink to make everything crisp and clear. The colors are the finest available. Lapis lazuli blue, imported at enormous expense. Vermilion red. Gold, of course, gold everywhere. This benedictional will cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. It will be one of the monastery's greatest treasures. Through the months you watch the work progress. Page after page illuminated. Each one different, each one showing a different scene, a different saint, a different moment in the church year. Finally it is complete. The pages are bound in leather over wooden boards. The binding is decorated with metalwork, with jewels, with ivory plaques carved with religious scenes. The book itself becomes a treasure, a holy object, something to be treasured and protected. Bishop Athelwold uses it at Massachusetts. When he opens it to read the blessing, the congregation sees the glowing pages, the gold, the beautiful paintings. They understand that this book is special, that the words the bishop reads from it are important, that God is present in this beauty. The benedictional of Saint Athelwold survives. It remains one of the greatest achievements of Anglo-Saxon art. People still study it, marvel at it, try to understand how scribes and illuminators working 1,000 years ago created something so beautiful. Let Winchester stay with you as you drift into final depth of sleep. The wealthy scriptorium, the finest materials, the collaboration of many skilled hands, the beauty created not for one person but for a community, for worship, for the glory of God shared by all who see it. Rest now in the golden glow of illuminated pages, in the beauty created for heaven but enjoyed on earth, in the work that honors both God and the human capacity for creating beauty. Sleep. Story 6, Clairvaux Scriptorium. France, 12th century, Cistercian simplicity. You are in France again. But a different France from Tours. This is Clairvaux Abbey, founded by Saint Bernard, the most influential monk of his age. Bernard believes the Benedictine order has become too wealthy, too comfortable, too focused on beauty and not enough on simplicity, on poverty, on the purity of monastic life. He founded the Cistercian order to return to the original vision of Saint Benedict: poverty, labor, prayer, simplicity in all things. The scriptorium at Clairvaux reflects this vision. It is plain, undecorated. The walls are white. The windows are clear glass, not stained glass like rich monasteries have. Everything is functional, nothing is ornamental. The manuscripts produced here are different from all others you've seen. No illumination. No gold. No colors. Just black ink on white vellum. Just the text, nothing more. Brother Thierry works on a copy of the Rule of Saint Benedict. His script is clear, regular, completely plain. No decorated initials. No ornamental borders. Just words on a page. Bernard himself has written about this. Illuminated manuscripts distract from the text, he says. Gold and colors draw the eye away from the words, from the meaning, from God. They feed pride, vanity, the desire for beautiful possessions rather than spiritual purity. At Clairvaux, the Word of God is enough. It needs no decoration. The text itself is sacred. Adding ornament only cheapens it, makes it about human artistry instead of divine truth. You watch Thierry work. His concentration is as deep as any illuminators at Winchester, but his work is different. He focuses only on clarity, on perfect letter forms, on making the text as readable as possible. That is his art, perfect writing, nothing more. The scriptorium is productive. Without illumination, manuscripts can be completed much faster. A book that would take a year at Winchester takes only months at Clairvaux. The Cistercians can produce more books, spread more texts, serve more communities. They also copy different kinds of texts. Fewer lavish display manuscripts for wealthy patrons. More working copies for daily use, Bibles, liturgical books, patristic works, practical texts that monks actually use rather than treasure. Some criticize Bernard's approach. They say he's destroying a great tradition, that illuminated manuscripts honor God with beauty, that humans are made to create and appreciate beauty. But Bernard disagrees. True beauty is internal, spiritual, not physical. A plain manuscript with truth in it is more beautiful than a decorated manuscript that feeds vanity. Through the day you watch the work. The steady copying, the plain pages accumulating, the books being bound in simple leather with no decoration. These are working books, tools for spiritual life, not objects of art. But there is something beautiful here anyway. The cleanliness of the page. The clarity of the script. The purity of black on white. The absence of distraction. When you read these pages, you encounter only the text, only the meaning, only the truth. The Cistercian model spreads. Hundreds of Cistercian monasteries are founded across Europe, each with a scriptorium following Clairvaux's example. Plain manuscripts multiply, making texts available to communities that cannot afford illuminated works. Bernard's vision shapes the order for centuries. Even today, Cistercian monks value simplicity, reject ornament, focus on essentials. The scriptorium tradition continues, though now they use computers instead of quills, printers instead of vellum. But the principle remains: clarity over decoration, truth over beauty, simplicity over ornament. As evening comes and you watch the monks finish their day's work, you understand something. Both visions are valid. The beauty of Winchester and the simplicity of Clairvaux both honor God. One through created beauty that lifts the heart to heaven. The other through pure focus on truth without distraction. Perhaps we need both. Perhaps God is glorified in both lavish decoration and austere simplicity. Perhaps there is no one right way, only different ways, different paths to the same end. Let Clairvaux stay with you as you drift into final rest. The white walls, the plain pages, the clear script, the absence of ornament, the purity of focus, the simplicity that is its own kind of beauty. Rest now in plainness, in clarity, in the peace that comes from removing all distraction, all ornament, all complexity. Just truth. Just text. Just the essential. Sleep in simplicity. Sleep in clarity. Sleep in peace. And so our journey through scriptoriums ends. 6 places, 6 visions, 6 ways of creating beauty and preserving truth. We stood in Iona watching Celtic monks create the Book of Kells, patient work over decades, illumination so intricate that every time you look you see something new. Beauty as prayer, pattern as meditation, art as devotion. We shivered in Lindisfarne with Brother Eadfrith working alone in cold, creating the Lindisfarne Gospels through years of dedicated labor. One man, one vision, one manuscript that survives as testament to what concentration and devotion can achieve. We learned at Tours how Alcuin's vision of clear, readable script transformed European writing. Carolingian minuscule making knowledge accessible, manuscripts multiplying, learning spreading through Charlemagne's empire and beyond. We saw at Monte Cassino how monks preserve not just Christian texts but classical learning, believing that all truth deserves saving, that pagan wisdom can coexist with Christian faith, that knowledge from any source has value if it's true. We marveled at Winchester where the finest materials and finest skills combined to create the benedictional of St. Athelwold. Gold and color, careful planning, many hands working together to produce something worthy of heaven. And we found peace at Clairvaux where St. Bernard's vision of simplicity created a different kind of beauty. Plain pages, clear script, no ornament, just truth presented clearly without distraction. 6 scriptoriums, but thousands existed across medieval Europe. In every monastery, in every abbey, in every community of faith, scribes copied texts, preserved knowledge, created beauty in their own way. Without them, almost nothing would survive from the ancient world. No classical texts, no early Christian writings, no learning from Greece or Rome or the Church Fathers. Everything would have been lost in the chaos following Rome's fall. But it wasn't lost. Because monks, sitting in cold rooms with simple tools, copied it all. Sometimes for beauty, sometimes for utility, sometimes for preservation, sometimes for prayer. But always with care, always with attention, always with the understanding that this work mattered. They worked slowly. A page per day perhaps. A book per year. A lifetime might produce 50 manuscripts, 100 if the scribe was fast and lived long. By modern standards, incredibly slow. By medieval standards, exactly right. The work took as long as it needed to take. They were patient. Years-long projects didn't discourage them. They began knowing they might not finish, that another scribe might complete what they started. The work was larger than any individual, continued beyond any single lifetime. They were devoted. This was not just work but worship. Every letter formed perfectly honored God. Every page completed was prayer made visible. Every manuscript finished was offering laid on an altar. And their work survives. In libraries and museums, in monasteries and cathedrals, the manuscripts remain. Pages of vellum that have lasted 1,000 years, will last 1,000 more. Colors still bright, gold still gleaming, text still readable. Proof that patient work, careful craft, devotion to beauty, survives everything. Tonight as you drift into final sleep, let these scripturums stay with you. The quiet rooms, the patient scribes, the slow accumulation of beauty, the preservation of knowledge, the belief that this work matters, that beauty matters, that truth matters enough to spend a lifetime copying it, creating it, protecting it. Rest now as those scribes rested after their day's work. Tired, satisfied, knowing they did well, knowing the work continues, knowing others will carry it forward after them. The manuscripts remain. The scriptoriums are empty now, the scribes long dead, but their work survives. Beauty persists. Truth endures. Knowledge passes forward through time. Sleep well, keeper of beauty, preserver of truth, inheritor of patience. The work is done for today. Tomorrow it begins again. But tonight, only rest. The pages turn. The centuries pass. The work continues. All is patient. All is devotion. All is exactly as it should be. Good night from 6 scripturums across medieval Europe. Good night from the monks who worked there. Good night from the manuscripts they created. Good night from the beauty that survives them. Sleep. The work is timeless. The beauty is eternal. The peace is yours.